before it was Southeast Asia, Indian scholars would usually call it Far India, Greater India, Hinduized, or Indianized states.
Early Chinese writers identified the region as Philippines or Manila, literally translated as Little China.
Go.
Noted geographer George B. Christie suggested the region to be called as Indo-Pacific.
Some 5,000 years ago, the ancestors of today's Southeast Asians began a journey that would become one of the greatest series of human migrations of the world. They came from what is now southern China, traveled south toward Taiwan, and then entered the Philippines through its northernmost edge, Batanes. They populated the archipelago for more than 1,000 years, and then from here traveled west toward Madagascar in Africa and east toward Easter Island near South America. Linguists call them the Austronesian-speaking peoples, speakers of a family of languages heard in the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and many other islands of Southeast Asia and the Pacific.
The first Austronesian-speaking Filipinos who arrived here about 4,000 years ago from Taiwan through the Batanes and northern Luzon almost certainly came here by boat. The Philippines represented the entry of these populations into the tropical part of the world. And when they arrived here, they also had to develop their methods of crossing sea, building canoes.
The Austronesian-speaking peoples are also expert seafarers and boat builders. The Austronesians developed the technology to navigate and cross the open seas to distant islands. They invented the outrigger canoe as well as the precursor of today's catamaran, the double-hulled sailing canoe.
It is very likely that in the Philippines, the early Austronesians began to use outriggers and also sails for sailing their canoes over very large distances, because of course once you go through the Philippines into the Western Pacific, the distances between the islands become larger and larger, and the technology has to improve, particularly for getting to places such as Polynesia, where islands can very often be many thousands of kilometers apart.
Textbooks used to say that the ancestors of today's Filipinos crossed land bridges to reach the Philippines. But evidence shows that they actually came by boat from southern China through Taiwan. Linguists say the sophisticated seafaring culture was instrumental in the spread of Austronesian languages during the Neolithic era. Austronesians colonized the islands of Southeast Asia and the Pacific and imposed the language on their subjects. Today, there are about 1,200 languages considered part of the Austronesian family, spoken by 350 million people.
Cordillera Mountains are located on the island of Luzon in the Philippines. The mountains are over 2,000 meters above sea level and are the backdrop for a local myth passed down from generation to generation. Bugan and Wigan were the first Ifugao. God gave them rice and something that enabled them to grow rice in the harsh mountains, the rice terraces. This is the Ifugao village of Bangan. The Ifugao tribe have cultivated and protected these 20,000 hectares of rice terraces for over 2,000 years, preserving traditions described in their local myth. The people of the Ifugao live in stilt houses. Bulul is the god protecting the rice. These beautiful rice terraces, often referred to as stairways to heaven, were inscribed on the list of World Heritage in 1995. Indigenous chants sung during the planting and harvesting are called hudhud. The hudhud's 40 epic tales were proclaimed a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. In the 16th century, the Philippines became a Spanish colony. The Ifugao refused to convert to Catholicism and kept their tribal pride.
and complex musical styles, the ancient wayang form of storytelling originated on the Indonesian island of Java. For 10 centuries, wayang flourished at the royal courts of Java and Bali, as well as in rural areas. Today, wayang is practiced not only on Java and Bali, but also on the islands of Lombok, Madura, Sumatra and Borneo, where various local performance styles and musical accompaniments have developed. Wayang performances are visually striking, owing mainly to the puppets themselves. Although these carefully handcrafted objects vary considerably in size, shape and style, two principal types prevail. The three-dimensional wooden puppet, wayang klitik or golek, and the flat leather shadow puppet, wayang kulit, projected in front of a screen lit from behind. Both types are characterized by stylized costumes and facial features, and articulated body parts. The master puppeteer, or dalang, carefully manipulates the swiveling arms by means of slender sticks attached to the puppets.
I was venturing onto my next destination under the cover of darkness for a very good reason. Well, it's 5:30 in the morning, the world is just starting to wake up, and the sun is about to come up. It's going to reveal the world's largest Buddhist site. Some say that Borobudur is a cosmos in stone. It is certainly a fabulous visual scripture of Buddhism, with 1,460 exquisite carved reliefs that make this one of the great pilgrimage sites of Southeast Asia, and without a doubt, one of the 7 wonders of the world. But Borobudur also tells us that nothing lasts forever. At its time, it was the supreme achievement of a Buddhist kingdom that flourished briefly and then died in Java in the 9th and 10th centuries. Then for a long time, it was as if it had never existed. Borobudur was abandoned and neglected for almost 1,000 years until it was rediscovered in the early 19th century. While local villagers knew there was a mystery in the Javanese jungle, it was a team of archaeologists working under Stamford Raffles, the British colonialist and founder of Singapore, who stumbled on the overgrown monument in 1814. they had inadvertently uncovered an ancient marvel that has astounded historians ever since.
Borobudur was built over a period of about 50 years, so its design and layout was constantly evolving. That's why it's so difficult for historians today to unravel its complex symbolism.
Many speculate on Borobudur's purpose, symbolism and meaning. It was, and still is, a place of prayer. But whatever its religious origins, when it came to saving Borobudur from the ravages of time, no stone was left unturned.
Over 1 million stones were cleaned, treated and placed on a new foundation, and Borobudur entered a new phase of life.
The basic shape of Borobudur is a stepped pyramid with a stupa at the top. The 35-metre structure was built on a hill, and all its galleries, statues and terraces are open to the sky. Scores of reliefs on the first level illustrate the story of Buddha's search for ultimate truth. You will yourself discover something special here, and will most likely leave Borobudur with a memory to treasure.
In Southeast Asia, an abandoned city sprawls magnificently across the heart of Cambodia. Its hundreds of monuments contain more stone than the Egyptian pyramids and cover more ground than modern Paris. This is Angkor, the capital of an empire that once controlled most of Southeast Asia. Its people were called the Khmer, and more than 500 years ago, they fled this grand city. To the outside world, the city existed only in obscure travelers' tales. Then, in 1860, a French naturalist named Henri Mouot stumbled across the ruins. He wrote about the city and drew it, attracting the attention of the wider world. But the questions had only just begun. Angkor's greatest marvel, Angkor Wat, served as a shrine, an observatory, and a funerary temple. Research suggests that it took almost 30 years to complete and was finished in time to bury an important king.
Angkor Wat will reproduce on Earth the world of the gods in every detail.
The Hindu conception of heaven was Mount Meru, and Mount Meru occupied a mythical place somewhere north of the Himalayas. And there were 5 mountain peaks where the gods lived. Here you had to reconstruct that.
So, at the center is an enormous temple mound, topped by 5 towers soaring 65 meters above the floodplain. This is known as the Temple Mountain. The Temple Mountain was clearly a place of worship, but it may also have had another, equally sacred purpose. The building presents conflicting clues. It is dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, yet it features Suryavarman II's posthumous name, Parama Vishnu Loka. It faces due west, the compass point associated with Vishnu, but also the direction of death.
When the king became king, the first thing in mind that he had was when he died he had to go to heaven. And so here they had to reconstruct, literally, heaven on earth. And there was already a massive project. He had a large army of architects, he had his priests, he had his soothsayers, he had everybody organized from the word go to build this massive complex.